Very warm welcome to Amishakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shackle. Following are the latest news headlines which have been reported by American, European, Canadian, Asian, African, and Australian news channels and all other news agencies. So please, let's go to the news.
Tonight, the breaking news, the severe storms moving in, at least one dead, swept away in Austin, drivers sheltering in place. The storms then moving up the East Coast. The dangerous and deadly storms on the move, hail, damaging winds, and flash flooding. Trees snapped in two, drivers sheltering under the roof of a gas station. The system then shifting east, heavy rain coming to Washington, D.C., right up to New York City. The images coming in at this hour, and Lee Goldberg standing by to time this out. Also breaking tonight, the whiplash over President Trump's tariffs. A three-judge panel ruling the emergency declared by the president, quote, exceeds any tariff authority delegated to the president. Then late today, the appeals court saying the tariffs can move forward for now. And tonight, Elon Musk now says his official role with the White House is over. The brutal attack on TSA agents, the newly released video showing the man punching multiple agents at a TSA checkpoint. What led to this? Tonight, Harvard on graduation day winning a temporary reprieve in its battle with President Trump, a judge allowing them to enroll foreign students. But tonight, the State Department announcing it will, quote, aggressively revoke visas of some Chinese students, and why they're doing this. The shark sightings on the East Coast, the attack, and then the alarming video, the fin of a 20-foot shark amid the boulders in the Northeast. Several sightings even before the official start of summer. Tonight, actors and comedians Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence and their big reveal. Their kids secretly got married. Also tonight, the actor who brought one of the most terrifying characters to life is being remembered tonight. Also, two major airlines combining what it means for your points. And Beyonce with one very dramatic gender reveal. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
It's an incredible privilege to be a part of this and, have someone like Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men in the world, so involved, so interested in affecting my life and people with disabilities right now. I just can't even put it into words. And the guys and gals at Neuralink, they are the hardest workers that I've ever met in my life, and they have such a passion for helping people.
I wonder what the ladies of you would say to Nolan Harbaugh, whether he would consider Elon Musk destructive to America.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to...
So here's what we're following this morning. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the United States will start aggressively revoking Chinese student visas. Meanwhile, the U.S. International Trade Court striking down most of President Trump's tariffs. The White House now pushing back. And then there's the story of Elon Musk. He confirms he is leaving Doge. That was expected. He did leave the agency and saving an estimated $175 billion in slashed government waste, which was quite a bit smaller than...
Yes. So with that, our plate is full. Team Fox coverage. Hugh Hewitt's got analysis. He's on deck. Let's start with the news on the terrorists. Major news there. Alexandria Hoff begins there from the North Lawn. Alex, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, the Trump administration is appealing this decision by a three-judge panel that blocks his sweeping tariffs, the president's sweeping tariffs. The White House stating this, quote, it is not for unelected judges to decide how to properly address a national emergency. Now, the Federal Trade Court disagreed with the administration applying the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to tariffs. It's something that had never been done before. Quote, the court does not read IEEPA to confer such unbounded authority. Well, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett said this morning that he doesn't think the president's trade deal making will be impacted by what many will say is a loss of leverage here, saying that there are three more trade deals nearly done. He also responded to some skepticism coming from some GOP members and Elon Musk over the president's big, beautiful bill. Listen.
If you're disappointed in the end at what's in the big, beautiful bill, don't forget that there are a million other spending cuts coming because of Doge cuts, because of other things we can do with executive order.
Now, the White House is expected to send a roughly $9.4 billion federal spending cut proposal to Congress next week, doing so by a rescissions package, which is a way for the president to block funds already allocated by Congress. The primary targets there will be NPR, PBS, and USAID. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says there's an immediate effort to codify Doge cuts that coincides with Elon Musk's tenure in the government coming to a close. He thanked the president in a post and added that Doge's mission will only strengthen over time. Now, as a special government employee, which is what Musk was, you're only allowed to serve for 130 days per calendar year. That 130 mark ends at the end of the month.
Okay, all right, that's a lot. That's a lot for now. Thanks, Alexander. Tonight, the battle is breaking out everywhere over President Trump's trade war. Two courts blocking some of his trademark tariffs, but tonight the Federal Appeals Court allowing some tariffs to continue while a legal challenge plays out. The market reaction plus the fallout for businesses big and small. And our new reporting about that crypto kidnap and torture case. Sources say two NYPD detectives were placed on modified duty, now being investigated for a possible connection to the case. Severe weather down south, a funnel cloud blowing past drivers on a highway, and one man swept away in Texas. We're tracking it. Plus Canada on fire, thousands evacuated, and where it's already impacting air quality in the U.S. The emotional testimony in court, the witness known as Mia, who accused Sean Diddy Combs of sexual assault, what she says he did at the house of R&B star Prince. Hardball with Harvard. The new twist says the president tries to strip foreign students from the storied campus on graduation day, and why the Secretary of State is vowing to revoke visas of Chinese college students in the U.S.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. Tracking the stat.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice Dubois.
Americans say they are losing the fight against inflation. In a new CBS News poll, more than 3 out of 4 told us their incomes are not keeping up with inflation.
And nearly 2 out of 3 told us they are stressed about their finances. As for the overall economy, only 39% said it is good, but that is still a 2-point improvement over last month and about where it was when President Trump took office.
A lot of activity, little change. It's the same story in the courts. A day ago, the Court of International Trade ruled the president overstepped his authority with many of his tariffs. Today, a federal appeals court said the tariffs may stay in place as he challenges the decision.
For many small businesses, Jolene Kent tells us the verdict on those tariffs is already in. Jolene.
Look, the last 24 hours have been a real roller coaster for American business, big and ensnared in this new legal drama when all they really want from President Trump is some certainty. Molly Leonetti is the president of Claire V, which makes and sells handbags and accessories.
So this says masculin, féminin. This is one of our phrases.
It manufactures many of its products here in Los Angeles. Some of the materials are imported from overseas and subject to President Trump's tariffs.
Since April 2nd, amounts tariffs.
Race to escape raging wild across the new models for best president's tariffs, how the White House is responding after a court blocked his import taxes, and how Canada is reacting. Israel approves its expansion of illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank, what it means for Palestinians, and sky-high skepticism. The paraglider who claims a cloud sucked him up into the air. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Thousands of people across the prairies are on the move because of raging wildfires. Today, Saskatchewan declared a province-wide state of emergency. Manitoba did the same thing yesterday. These pictures are from south of Flin Flon, Manitoba, near the Saskatchewan border. Flames are threatening communities and First Nations in central and northern regions, forcing people to flee. Most of the fires are out of control. Saskatchewan officials say it hasn't been this bad this early in the season in decades.
I do fear things are going to deteriorate with the weather that we have ahead of us, but working very closely with the province of Manitoba, and we're in this together, and not just in our 2 provinces, but largely in our 2 provinces.
Good evening, I'm Amna Nabaz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett. On the News Hour tonight, an appeals court allows the Trump administration's tariffs to stay in place for now, the legal back and forth that's causing even more uncertainty for businesses.
The check and balance is working. Democracy works, you can say that. But it's providing a tremendous amount of volatility to markets.
The United States proposes a new deal to pause the war in Gaza again and release the hostages.
And we speak with the head of the FDA about recent changes to COVID vaccine recommendations for children and pregnant women.
Journalism at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Gaza, at least 2 people were crushed to death and 2 others fatally shot Wednesday as thousands of starving Palestinians rushed to United Nations humanitarian aid distribution warehouse in Deir al-Balah, tearing open its metal walls in a desperate attempt to find food. Witnesses described a chaotic scene as starving people clamored for the supplies.
I'm hungry and I want to eat. There's no flour, no food, no bread. There's nothing at home. Every time I go get aid, I take hold of a box and 100 people crowd over me. 300. I couldn't take anything. I just go home empty-handed. Before, the UN agency used to send me a message and I would go like any respected person. I'd take the aid and I'd go back home. Now there's nothing. If you're strong, you get aid. If you're not strong, you don't.
Gaza officials say at least 10 Palestinians seeking aid have been killed by Israeli.
Africa Stories on France 24.
Thanks for joining us. See you again. Take care.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Good morning and welcome back to France 24. You're watching Daybreak with me, Veronica Behel. These are the headlines. White House's ceasefire proposal for Gaza does not meet Hamas demands, according to a senior group official, though it has asked for more time to examine it. This as Washington says the deal is backed and supported by Israel. We'll be going live to our correspondent in Jerusalem for the latest. Donald Trump's tariffs are staying in effect, at least for now. In the latest legal back and forth, the sweeping global levies were reinstated by a US appeals court just a day after a federal court moved to block them. And Poland is heading to the polls on Sunday with Rafał Trzaskowski from the ruling Liberal Party going head-to-head with nationalist Karol Nawrocki of the Law and Justice Party. Our correspondent gives us the latest in his report. Welcome to the programme. We'll be starting with the latest news.
Is Asia Now.
It's 11 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 8:30 New Delhi, and 10 o'clock in Jakarta. Good morning. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, Asia's premier defense summit, the Shangri-La Dialogue, opens in Singapore. French President Emmanuel Macron is in the country and is set to deliver the keynote address later today.
I'm Arnold live here at the Shangri-La Dialogue with Indo-Pacific leaders and others like Macron are gathered for Asia's defense summit. I'll tell you why anxiety is so high and why everyone is, waiting to hear what the defense secretary and his delegation are going to say and do amid Trump's tariffs as well as his America First policies.
The U.S. president's sweeping global tariffs remain in effect. An appeals court has temporarily paused a ruling that claims the levies are illegal and must be halted. And hundreds of thousands of Chinese students face an uncertain future with Washington's clampdown on visas. Beijing says national security is being used as an excuse to harm its nationals.
Very good morning to you. It's 6 o'clock on today's show. Hamas says a deal proposing a 60-day pause in fighting remains under discussion.
Plus, we'll have the best of the action from the French Open as 3 Brits go through to the third round.
Good news for them on Friday, the 30th of May. Israel has accepted a US proposed ceasefire in Gaza. However, talks continue with Hamas, who say it fails to meet core demands. Last we report from the Arctic, where melting ice is giving Russia room to maneuver, prompting a warning from the Foreign Secretary.
We do see Russia's shadow fleet using these waters. We do see increased activity from submarines with nuclear capability.
Ahead of his new documentary, Olympic diver Tom Daley discusses a career in the spotlight and struggles with body dysmorphia.
People are going to look at me like, oh, well, you look fine, you look great. And yes, rationally, I know that. But that's not what an eating disorder is.
Plus, Harry Brooks made a successful start as captain of England's white ball sides, but it was 21-year-old Jacob Bethel who stole the show against the West Indies.
Minister, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. Okay, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration, or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then. Yeah, now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A father of three and a former Royal Marine charged after allegedly driving into the crowds at the Liverpool parade on Monday.
Well, 53-year-old Paul Doyle stands accused of 7 offences, with several victims still in hospital.
He's set to appear in court later this morning.
It's the question you have to ask about Nigel Farage. Can you trust him?
We have Keir Starmer, our socialist Prime Minister. He's terrified. Do you know, he mentioned me 16 times today in a speech. I'm living rent-free inside his head.
And that's all just in the past 24 hours. The Prime Minister and Reform UK leader Nigel Farage throwing verbal punches. But will they agree to hash it all out in a debate?
Trouble in Paradise, Labour's pick of Attorney General, Britain's highest legal position, is condemned for comparing politicians calling to leave the ECHR to Nazis. Is it a sign the government isn't with the public on issues like immigration?
Less than 2 days now until disposable vapes are banned. We're finding out if it could lead to a rise in smoking.
Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time.
He could be waiting a bit longer yet. President Trump's tariffs in jeopardy. The courts are considering now a total block.
Could a Gaza ceasefire come into force as soon as this weekend? Well, Israel has accepted a new plan, but Hamas looks set to pull the brakes.
Sport this morning, we've got 3 men through to the 3rd round of the French Open for the first time since 1968. We're guaranteed at least 1 through to the 4th. In the Battle of the Lukes, Humphreys beat Littler in the Premier League of Darts Trophy. And could Manchester United's best player be off to Saudi Arabia? £700,000 a week could help him make a decision.
It's quite warm out there this morning, feeling quite humid in the afternoon, sunshine across East Anglia and the southeast. There is a bit of rain around as well. If you join me later for a full forecast, I'll let you know when.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Today, a reprieve for Donald Trump. His sweeping global tariffs temporarily reinstated after trade court rules they were illegal. 24-year-old woman charged with stabbing 4 people in Victoria's East last night. An outage leaves Commonwealth Bank customers unable to make online transfers. And Queensland defeat New South Wales in Game 3 of the Women's State of Origin.
Should do more by making investigative moves, proactive moves.
On transfers. And Queensland defeat New South Wales in Game 3 of the Women's State of Origin. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ros Charles. The Trump administration has won a reprieve after a US appeals court temporarily reinstated the president's tariffs. It comes a day.
Africa News. The news. When the civil war erupted in 2013, the residents of the High Mata village were forced to flee their homes and seek sanctuary in a United Nations site in Malakal, Upper Nile. More than a decade later, they've returned to the land they left behind, moving into new shelters built by humanitarian agencies. I am so happy indeed for the house that the humanitarians built for us, and I'm living here with my children after returning from Sudan. I'm also happy with the presence of police stationed in our area to provide security and to protect us. To allow a safe return, the UN and its partners had to clear unexploded ordnances from the land. While the residents are pleased to be home, they have concerns about insecurity, as well as access to basic services like clean water. As we agreed together earlier, 70% of the area security is in your hands, as the citizens. Not us, the government, or police. It's yours. The theft of property here comes from the citizens themselves, your own children, not strangers. So you are responsible for protecting your houses. The state government is monitoring the return process to prevent disputes and potential conflicts over land ownership.
Water fountains red like blood. Activists in Paris demanded an end to the war in Gaza on Wednesday, dyeing a water fountain red and holding up signs saying "Stop the bloodbath" in Gaza. The protesters called on French President Emmanuel Macron to work to bring an end to the fighting in Gaza and for Israel and Hamas to agree to a new ceasefire. Israel renewed its offensive in the Gaza Strip in March after ending a fragile ceasefire agreement with Hamas. The Israeli government also blocked humanitarian aid from reaching the Palestinian population for 2 months. United Nations aid trucks were allowed to cross into the destroyed territory to bring relief to the suffering civilians for the first time last week.
The real-life impact of US President Donald Trump's immigration policies on people and families on display in California on Wednesday. His administration has revoked permission for Sophia, a 4-year-old Mexican girl, to stay in the country. The mother has been told the family faced potential deportation after the government withdrew the humanitarian parole they received in 2023 when she brought her sick child to the US-Mexico border.
Sophia suffers from short bowel syndrome, which prevents her from being able to take in and process nutrients on her own. This treatment cannot be administered outside of the United States, so it's imperative that she remains here. Deporting this family under these conditions is not only unlawful, it constitutes a moral failure that violates the basic tenets of humanity and decency.
And live like Sophia made it out of hospital thanks to a treatment that provides intravenous nutrition through a backpack she wears.
Sí, tengo miedo porque
yes, I'm afraid because once again, Sophia is at risk of dying if she doesn't receive treatment in just a few hours. What would happen if we return to Mexico? Sophia would be hospitalized day and night again because there aren't resources there for her to live a normal life like at home. Doctors have told the family and lawyers that Sophia will die without this care. Humanitarian parole does not put migrants on a path to citizenship. The US Citizenship and Immigration Services has not immediately commented. A very special career for the UEFA Champions League trophy as it arrived in Munich ahead of Saturday's final between Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan. Legendary Spanish midfielder Andres Iniesta teamed up with sponsors FedEx to delight fans at the Olympia Park.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.